morning. It's my pleasure and privilege to be here today. I'm really delighted to be able to speak to all of you. So Rolf asked me to make sure that I mention that I'm the only female CEO of a luxury cruise line. So I'm saying that. However, in all candor, I really find it kind of sad that as we're approaching 2016, I still get asked these gender questions. So there's an article that'll appear in the New York Times on Sunday where I was asked that question, and I said, being a CEO, of course, has its challenges, but my gender is irrelevant. So I would say, may the best person always get the job. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about different trends and the cruise industry. So these are the statistics on the global cruise industry. If you're not familiar with the cruise industry, last year we hosted about just over 22 million guests. And out of North America, just about half of that, 11 million of those guests, came from North America. But I can tell you that even though the cruise industry or the modern cruise industry is approaching, I guess its 40th year, we're still sort of in the infancy and even embryonic stages in a lot of different ways. But what I want you to be cognizant of is that just like different segments of the travel industry, the hotel industry as an example, has different segmentation. So, you know, in a hotel space, you could stay at a Motel 6, a Westin, a W, a Ritz-Carlton. There are all of these different segments, and beach resorts versus city. Well, the cruise industry is really no different than that. We actually have brand segmentation within the industry. And so if you are endeavoring to go on a romantic getaway, your travel consultant might suggest one brand versus if you're going on a multi-generation family holiday with a bunch of young children, a different brand experience. So I think it's important to be cognizant that in broad strokes, on a macro level, the cruise industry should not get swooped into one type of market segmentation. It's actually broken out in a myriad of different segmentations. And the other thing is that the world is bullish on cruising and the cruise industry. While you see there are over 411 ships currently afloat. There are over 51 ships on order in the next 5 years. So it is a growing, booming industry. And we're delighted to be part of it at Crystal. So what I will also tell you is that while many different cruise lines go many different places, and at Crystal, we are already a global brand experience. We go to all 7 seas and all 7 continents. That what you're reading lately is China. And a lot of the cruise major big players actually are getting into the China space. They are specifically building vessels for the Chinese market, and they are going after the Chinese guest. So at Crystal Cruises, we're not doing it that way. We have always gone to China organically. About 15% of our guests are Asian. So we will just continue to grow organically in that China space. But the hot trend these days clearly is that China is a new market, and many of the brands are getting into that space. So let's talk about the global luxury sector and sales, and not only the travel industry, but luxury goods. And you see some great brands up there. As you can see from a digital and a social media world, we are evolving in the luxury space, but we haven't even scratched the surface. There's a lot of room to go as we endeavor to sell more and more online. And certainly in the cruise space, different brands have different percentages that are booked through travel agents versus direct. And direct might not only be online, but direct through the phone. At Crystal, we really value the travel consultants, and 96% of our bookings come through travel consultants, both online and directly through them, where another cruise brand might have 50% of their guests coming direct. So it's all on strategy and perspective. But who are the innovators in the global luxury and travel space that I believe are doing a great job of reaching a discerning audience? I would say to you, you on the retail space, I think Louis Vuitton is doing a great job in the digital and social media world. And then I think just on delivering a great brand experience, I often use the Baccarat Hotel here in New York as a great example. I think they're doing a tremendous job. And while arguably that's a one-off property, for lack of a better term, I think they understand their guests and they are setting a luxury trend and delivering a great brand experience and incorporating residences concurrently with the hotel space. And then one of my personal favorites that I think is doing a great job is the Peninsula Paris. I think the Peninsula brand does a fantastic job on all mechanisms. Again, digitally, socially, but I think that they deliver a tremendous brand experience, and the Peninsula Paris, how they've integrated technology into the guest experience, I think is absolutely incredible. And I will also say that the Peninsula does a great job of keeping true to all of their brand ethos, but then locally, where the different properties are located, curating the local experience concurrently while delivering their brand experience. And that's a tough job to navigate, and I think they are one of the players that do a great job of navigating those waters. So what does it take to understand a luxury consumer or guest? Not only in the cruise and travel industry, but I think in all segmentations. Clearly, my philosophy is that the customer, the guest, is the person or the entity that pays our salaries. And I think that it's paramount to understand that guest. And in my case, leading all things Crystal, I am the typical Crystal guest. The female in the travel space is usually the person who makes the family vacation buying decision. So I think I am very close to the decision maker, who is typically the female in the family when delivering a vacation buying decision. Also, I'm a global luxury consumer myself, so I really stay true to the heart of what our guests are looking for. But obviously, I'm not the only type guest, and we have many different focus groups to always be at the heart and always understand what the guest is looking for. And make no mistake that just like the travel industry, the guests are evolving. Today's cruise guest is very different regardless in what market segmentation than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and certainly even 25 years ago when Crystal Cruises started. So to give you an example of what I mean by that, 25 years ago when Crystal started, many of our voyages, if not all, were either 12 or 14 nights only. We had 2 nights where it was black tie required. We were not an all-inclusive brand experience. But by listening to our guests, we have evolved and we continue to evolve. So today, if you wanted to go on a Crystal cruise, we have voyages from 5 nights up to 128 nights and anywhere in between. And so 5 night, because this is not your grandfather's cruise, would give somebody who perhaps is new to cruising a way to experience cruising. And we are now totally Crystal Country Club casual style of dress. You can walk into the dining room in a pair of jeans and a blazer, and it's totally acceptable. And we are all inclusive, and in the cruise world and at Crystal, that is defined by full open bar, complimentary included, as well as gratuities. So it's very, very interesting to be sure that whatever you're trying to deliver, you are cognizant of what the guest is looking for and how the guest evolves. But I'm not interested in following trends. At Crystal, I'm really interested in changing the game. And I am definitely somebody who does not take no for an answer and has a great team. And at Crystal, we are changing the game. So how might we be doing that? Well, there you see an aircraft, and I'll speak to that in a moment. But we want to shape the future by understanding and evolving luxury global traveler, be it cruise or otherwise. And we're all about expanding the guest base. So I'm really not just interested in repeat guests. I'm interested in growing this space. And so how do we grow this space? Well, we've made some really incredible announcements with our 25th anniversary that is changing the game. As Crystal is the most awarded luxury cruise line, 20 out of 20 years Travel and Leisure's World's Best, and concurrently 21 years Condé Nast World's Best, we are now endeavoring to become the world's most premier and luxurious hospitality and lifestyle brand portfolio. So we'll always stay true to our roots with Crystal Cruises. And at Crystal, while we have 2 vessels today, we have actually bought the shipyard that will now build us everything new. And that was because we don't take no for an answer. The shipyards out there were not giving us delivery dates we liked, so our chairman literally bought the shipyard to get acceptable delivery dates, changing the game. And we are building 3 Polar class vessels. So Polar class is different than Ice class. These will be iconic, and as Warren Buffett says, you need a sustainable competitive advantage. Nobody else will have true Polar class. It means we can create itineraries that can take you from the North Pole to the South Pole and anywhere in between. And guests choose cruising, the #1 reason, for itineraries. So it will empower us and allow us to create even more creative itineraries. You see a helicopter there. We will have helicopters landing on the ship. In addition to that, the back of the ship will turn down and become a marina. And so the ship will give birth to a 32-foot wider and a submarine that will be manned by a captain and 2 guests at a time. So really changing the game in delivering the cruise experience, not only on board, but off the vessel. And concurrent to that, these 3 new vessels will also have no more than 48 residences. So for the first time ever, you can have a private condo at sea and then come down and see regularly scheduled new faces with each new itinerary, changing the game and shaping the future. In addition to that, we are starting a few other brand extensions. Here you see our Crystal Esprit, the first vessel in our Crystal Yacht Cruise brand extension experience. She will also have a wider Sea-Doos, Zodiacs, and a submarine, as you see there, and a slide down the back, and some fabulous other things. We are also launching Crystal River Yacht Cruises, another brand extension, and where you saw the aircraft, Crystal Luxury Air, taking cruising to the sky with really custom curated experiences as delivered in only the Crystal style, as only Crystal can. But regardless, the platform on which we will do everything going forward is built upon a 3-character acronym that I have coined E.C.O. It is all about exclusivity, customization, and options. If you are endeavoring to be a luxury travel experience game changer, as we are, if you don't, going forward in 2016 and beyond, I believe, build everything around these 3 components, and by the way, for you techies out there, that even includes a website and everything social media and digitally, you will fall behind and be remiss in the process. So this is how Crystal Cruises will go forward. And being cognizant of that, guests, I always say luxury is a term, and both luxury and value are terms much like beauty. It is in the eye of the beholder. It means different things to different people. Luxury to me these days is being able to sleep in my own bed until my body clock wakes me up. But luxury to you is very different than what it is to you, as is value. And while we cater to the top 2% of the world's wealthiest, always remember that no matter how wealthy a client is, they want their individual perception of value. So as we go forward, it is really about personalization. If it's not personal, it's not luxury. You can't just paint in broad strokes and say, this is how we do it. It really gives new meaning to one-to-one marketing and one-to-one deliverable. And you've got to harness the power of every member of your team and make sure that they understand your brand ethos and that they individually as a team member are empowered to deliver that. And of course it goes with great training, but at Crystal we say we hire for the personality, and then we train for the skill. And over 25 years ago, I read a business book by then the chairman of SAS Airline, Jan Carlson, and he called it those moments of truth. And I believe those moments of truth are when the team member of the company is engaged with the client, and they need to be empowered to deliver the moment of truth of what that luxury global consumer wants at the moment. So again, everything going forward at Crystal in changing the game will be built around E.C.O. Exclusivity, customization, and options. And if you haven't tried a Crystal experience, you should. On that note, I just want to thank you all, and I wish you much success in the rest of the conference. Thank you.